My name is Emma, and I am 29 years old. I work as a marketing manager at a mid-sized company in Seattle, and I thought I had my life together. Good job, my own apartment, financial independence. But apparently, none of that mattered to my family because I was still single. 2 weeks ago, my mother called and invited me to what she described as a special family celebration dinner at an upscale Italian restaurant. I was excited, thinking maybe this time would be different. Maybe they would finally see me as the successful adult I had become. I had no idea that evening would become the catalyst for the most painful yet liberating decision of my life. Before I dive into what happened that night, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like mine. Trust me, you will want to stick around for this one because what unfolded at that dinner table changed everything between my family and me. Let me paint you a picture of my family dynamics because context matters here. My parents, Richard and Susan, are both in their early 60s. My father spent his entire career as an accountant before retiring 3 years ago, and my mother was an elementary school teacher. They live in a comfortable suburb outside Seattle, the kind of neighborhood where everyone knows everyone and appearances matter more than authenticity. They are not bad people, but they hold very traditional views about what constitutes a successful life. I have two older siblings. My brother David is 34 years old and works as a software engineer. He married his college sweetheart Jennifer 8 years ago, and they have two children ages 6 and 4. David has always been the golden child, the one who checked every box on my parents' list of expectations. Then there is my sister Catherine, who is 32. She is a nurse married to Brandon, and they have a 3-year-old daughter. Catherine has always been the peacemaker in the family, though she has never actually stood up for me when it counted. And then there is me. 29, successful in my career, financially independent, owns her own home. But in my parents' eyes, none of that mattered, because I was missing one crucial element. I was not married, I did not have children, and apparently that meant I was still a child myself in their worldview. The pattern of differential treatment had been going on for years, but I kept telling myself it was not that bad. I kept making excuses for them. At last year's Thanksgiving, I was the one expected to help with all the cooking and cleaning while David and Catherine sat with their spouses in the living room. When I pointed out the unfairness, my mother said, "Well, they have families to take care of. You have more free time." At my parents' anniversary party 6 months ago, they gave a toast thanking David and Catherine for giving them grandchildren and making them so proud, while I stood there feeling invisible. Every family gathering included the same questions about my dating life, the same hints about my biological clock, the same implications that my life was somehow incomplete. But I kept showing up. I kept trying. I kept hoping that one day they would see me for who I really was, not just as the unmarried daughter who had somehow failed at the most important task in their eyes. So when my mother called 2 weeks before the dinner, I felt a flutter of hope. "Emma, honey," she said in that sweet voice she uses when she wants something. "Your father and I are planning a special family celebration dinner. We have made reservations at La Fontana for Saturday evening. Everyone will be there. We would love for you to join us." I asked what we were celebrating, and she was vague. "Just a family gathering. Your father and I want to spend quality time with our children. It has been too long since we have all been together for something nice." That should have been my first warning sign. My parents were not the type to throw fancy dinners just for quality time. But I ignored my instincts. I wanted so badly to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was a turning point. Maybe they were finally ready to treat me as an equal. I went all out preparing for that dinner. I took a half day off work to get my hair done at a salon. I bought a new dress, a beautiful navy midi dress that cost $250, far more than I would normally spend. I wanted to look sophisticated and put together. I wanted them to see me as the successful professional woman I had become. I even stopped at a wine shop and picked out an $80 bottle of French wine as a gift for my parents. As I got ready that Saturday evening, standing in front of my mirror applying my makeup, I gave myself a little pep talk. "Tonight is going to be good," I told my reflection. "They invited you to something special. They want you there. Maybe they are finally seeing you as an adult." I put on my new dress, slipped into my heels, grabbed the wine bottle, and headed out the door. The drive to La Fontana took about 30 minutes, and the whole way there, I felt this mixture of excitement and nervous energy. I had been to this restaurant once before for a work event, and I knew it was expensive. The fact that my parents had chosen such an upscale place made me think this really was something important. I pulled into the parking lot at exactly 6 o'clock, right on time as always. I checked my appearance one more time in the rearview mirror, took a deep breath, and walked toward the entrance. The evening air was cool, and I could see through the restaurant's large windows that it was already busy with diners. For just a moment, I felt proud of myself, proud of the woman I had become, proud of how far I had come in my career, proud that I was able to afford nice things and take care of myself. If only I had known what was waiting for me inside. La Fontana was everything I remembered. The moment I stepped through the door, I was enveloped by warm lighting from crystal chandeliers hanging from the exposed beam ceiling. The walls were decorated with murals of Italian countryside scenes, and the air smelled like fresh bread and simmering tomato sauce. Classical music played softly in the background. It was the kind of place where people came for anniversaries and marriage proposals, not just regular family dinners. The hostess greeted me with a professional smile. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes, I am with the Richardson party," I said, giving my family's last name. "Of course, right this way." She led me through the main dining room toward a private area in the back. As we got closer, I could hear familiar voices and children's laughter. My stomach did a little flip of anticipation. We turned the corner into a semi-private room, and there they all were. My father Richard stood near a small bar area talking to David. Both men were dressed in suits. My mother Susan was chatting animatedly with Jennifer, David's wife, while Catherine stood nearby with her husband Brandon. All the adults were dressed elegantly, my mother in a burgundy dress, Jennifer in emerald green, Catherine in black. The three children, my nieces and nephews, were running around in their fancy clothes, playing some game that involved lots of giggling. Emma, my mother, noticed me first. She walked over and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, the kind of greeting that looks affectionate but feels perfunctory. "You made it, and you look nice." "Thanks, Mom. I brought this for you and Dad." I held out the wine bottle. My father turned and took it from me. "Oh, thanks," he said, glancing at the label with mild interest, before setting it on a side table. No comment on the quality or the gesture, just a dismissive acceptance. But I pushed down the disappointed feeling. The night was young. "Emma." Jennifer came over and gave me a genuine hug. "That dress is gorgeous. You look beautiful tonight." "Thank you," I said, grateful for her warmth. Jennifer had always been kind to me, the only in-law who seemed to genuinely care about me as a person, rather than just an extension of the family obligation. David gave me a nod. "Hey, Emma." Catherine smiled at me. "Hi, sis. Glad you could make it." Brandon offered a polite, "Good to see you." The children barely noticed my arrival, too engrossed in their game. The 6-year-old was chasing the 4-year-old around a column, while the 3-year-old toddled after them, not quite able to keep up, but determined to try. I stood there holding my purse, feeling like I was waiting for something, though I was not sure what. The energy in the room felt slightly off to me, but I could not put my finger on why. Everyone seemed happy enough, chatting and laughing. Maybe I was just being oversensitive. A server appeared at the doorway. "The Richardson party, your tables are ready." "Wonderful," my mother said, clapping her hands together. "Everyone, let's go sit down." This was the moment everything changed. As we filed into the actual dining area, I noticed immediately that the room had been set up with 2 tables instead of 1. The larger table was positioned in the center of the space, beautifully decorated with fresh flowers, lit candles, and an elegant white tablecloth. The place settings gleamed with silver cutlery and crystal glasses. It looked like something out of a magazine. But off to the side near the window was a smaller table. It had a regular tablecloth, simpler place settings, and shorter chairs, the kind of chairs you would use for children. My stomach tightened. "Okay, everyone, let us take our seats," Susan announced cheerfully. Richard, Susan, David, Jennifer, Catherine, and Brandon all moved naturally toward the large table, already seeming to know where they were supposed to sit. I stood frozen for a moment, waiting for someone to indicate where I should go. Obviously, I would be at the main table with the other adults, right? But then my mother turned back and looked at me with an expression that I can only describe as casually expectant. Emma, honey, can you sit with the kids at that table? We need someone responsible to watch them during dinner. The words hit me like cold water. For a second, I thought I had misheard. Excuse me, the kids' table, she repeated, gesturing toward the smaller table as if this was the most natural thing in the world. They need supervision. You know how rowdy they can get during meals. We want to be able to have adult conversation tonight without having to constantly manage them. I stood there, my brain trying to process what was happening. But Mom, I am an adult. I am 29 years old. My father's voice came from the main table where he had already taken his seat. Emma, don't make a scene. Just do as your mother asks. It is just for tonight. The kids need someone to sit with them. But I looked around at my siblings. David was studying the menu that had been placed at his setting. Catherine was adjusting her napkin. Neither of them met my eyes. Why can't one of the actual parents sit with their own children? Because my mother said, and now there was an edge of impatience in her voice. We want this to be a nice evening for the adults. You are not married, you do not have children, so you do not understand the stress we are all under. Consider this your contribution to the family tonight. Plus, you are so good with the kids. The last part was delivered with a smile, as if it was a compliment rather than a manipulation. As if being good with kids meant I should be relegated to babysitter status at what was supposed to be a family celebration. I felt my face getting hot. Part of me wanted to argue to demand my place at the adult table. But another part of me, the part that had been conditioned for 29 years to be the accommodating daughter to not rock the boat to keep the peace, was already calculating that making a scene would just make everything worse. And there was something else too, a tiny, desperate hope that maybe if I just went along with this proved once again that I was helpful and cooperative, they would finally see my value, that this was some kind of test I needed to pass. So I swallowed the lump in my throat, gripped my purse tighter, and walked over to the kids' table. The children had already scrambled into their seats, excited about the special dinner. The 6-year-old, my nephew Tyler, looked up at me with surprise. Auntie Emma, why are you sitting here? This is the kids' table. Out of the mouths of babes, even a 6-year-old could see how absurd this was. I forced a smile. I guess Grandma and Grandpa want me to hang out with you guys tonight. But you are a grown-up, he said, his little face scrunched up in confusion. I know, sweetie, I know. I pulled out the one adult-sized chair at the table and sat down. From this position, I had a clear view of the main table where my entire family was now settling in, laughing and chatting. They looked like a scene from a holiday card, the perfect family having a perfect evening. And I was sitting at the kids' table in my $250 dress, feeling about 3 feet tall. The server came by to take our orders, and the differences between the two tables became even more apparent. At the main table, everyone was looking at the full menu, discussing appetizers and entrees. I could hear my father saying something about the special cut of ribeye, and my brother asking about the lobster ravioli. When the server came to our table, he handed me a separate menu. It was the children's menu. Actually, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, could I see the regular menu? Before the server could respond, my mother's voice carried over from the other table. Just order from the kids' menu for your table, Emma. It will be easier for the children, and honestly, the portions on the adult menu are quite large. This way you will not waste food. The server looked uncomfortable, caught between two directives. I felt humiliated. The kids' menu is fine, I heard myself say, even though everything in me wanted to scream. So while my family ordered elegant Italian cuisine, I ordered chicken tenders. Chicken tenders at an upscale Italian restaurant where the cheapest entree was probably $35. The children got mac and cheese, a small pizza, and more chicken fingers. As we waited for the food, I tried to engage with my nieces and nephew to make the best of the situation. But it was hard to focus. I kept glancing over at the adult table, watching them. They had been served a beautiful appetizer spread: bruschetta with fresh tomatoes and basil, calamari with aioli, a cheese and charcuterie board. They were passing plates around, everyone taking portions, wine being poured. At my table, we had crayons and a paper placemat with games on it. Tyler was coloring a maze. His little sister Sophia, the 4-year-old, was trying to tell me a story about her preschool. I did my best to listen, to nod and smile in the right places, but I could not stop hearing the conversation happening 10 feet away from me. I am so proud of both of you, my mother was saying, her voice warm and full of genuine affection. David and Catherine, you have built such beautiful families. You have given your father and me the greatest gifts. Thank you, Mom, Catherine said. Brandon and I are really happy. And Jennifer, my father chimed in, you and David have done such an excellent job with the kids. Tyler is so smart and Sophia is just a delight. We are blessed grandparents. Jennifer laughed. Well, they have their moments, but we are lucky. There was a pause, and I found myself holding my breath, wondering if anyone would mention me, if anyone would acknowledge that I was also their daughter, also part of this family, also someone to be proud of. Instead, Jennifer asked, So, Susan, any updates on Emma? Is she seeing anyone? My entire body tensed. I was right there, less than 10 feet away, and they were talking about me as if I was not present. My mother sighed. It was a heavy sigh, full of disappointment and resignation. No, still single. Honestly, I just do not know what is wrong with her. Those words landed like a punch to my gut. What is wrong with her? As if I was defective. As if my single status was a personal failing, rather than just a life circumstance. Catherine jumped in. I think maybe she is too focused on her career. I mean, work is important, but at some point you have to prioritize other things. Exactly, my mother agreed. I keep telling her that her job will not keep her warm at night. She is going to wake up one day and realize she has waited too long. My father added his perspective. She is almost 30. The clock is ticking. I just hope she does not end up alone and full of regrets. David. My own brother said some people just are not cut out for family life, I guess. Maybe Emma is one of those career woman types who values independence over everything else. The way he said career woman made it sound like an insult. I sat there, my hands clenched in my lap under the table, my nails digging into my palms. They were dissecting my life, my choices, my worth, and doing it within earshot of me. Did they not care that I could hear? Or was this intentional? Was this part of the evening's purpose to remind me of my place? Auntie Emma, are you okay? Tyler was looking at me with concern. You look sad. I blinked rapidly, forcing back the tears that were threatening to form. I am fine, buddy, just thinking about something. But I was not fine. Nothing about this was fine. Our food arrived, and the contrast was almost comical. The children and I had plastic baskets lined with paper filled with fried foods and simple pastas. The main table received gorgeous plated dishes arranged artfully with garnishes and sauces. The smell of quality ingredients and careful preparation wafted over. I cut up Sophia's chicken for her white mac and cheese off the 3-year-old's face and tried to stop Tyler from flicking peas across the table. I was in full babysitter mode, exactly where they had put me. And then, adding insult to injury, Tyler knocked over his glass of juice. It happened in slow motion. The purple liquid arced through the air and landed directly on my lap, soaking into my navy dress. Oh no! Tyler's eyes went wide with panic. It is okay, I said quickly, not wanting him to feel bad. I grabbed napkins and started trying to blot the liquid, but it was no use. The dress was soaked, a huge dark stain spreading across the expensive fabric. My mother looked over at the commotion. Emma, can you please keep it down? We are trying to have a nice evening here. I stared at her. Mom, it was an accident. Well, that is exactly why we put you at that table. You can handle these situations. She turned back to her conversation as if the matter was settled. Handle these situations. Not are you okay? Not do you need help? Just annoyance that the children's table had briefly disrupted the adult conversation. I sat back down in my wet dress, feeling the cold, sticky fabric against my skin. I thought about the $250 I had spent on this outfit. I thought about the effort I had put into looking nice, into being the successful, put-together daughter who might finally earn their respect. And here I was, covered in grape juice, sitting with children, while my family celebrated their perfect lives without me. The main table moved on to their entrees. I could see my father cutting into a perfectly cooked steak. David had the lobster ravioli. Catherine was sharing a bite of her lamb chops with Brandon. They were all smiling, laughing, enjoying their expensive meal. And I was eating chicken tenders that tasted like cardboard, pretending everything was fine. But everything was not fine. and it was about to get so much worse. We were about halfway through the meal when my father did something that made the entire evening click into horrible focus. He stood up, tapped his spoon gently against his wine glass, and cleared his throat. The conversation at the adult table quieted down. "Everyone," he said, his voice taking on that formal tone he used for important announcements, "I have something I want to share with the family tonight." Even the children at my table sensed something was happening and stopped fidgeting. I looked up, my full attention now on my father. "Your mother and I have been talking a lot lately about legacy, about family, about what we want to leave behind." He paused, looking around the table with a warm smile. "We have been so fortunate in our lives, and we want to share that good fortune with our children." My heart started beating faster. Was this why they had called this dinner? Some kind of announcement? My mother stood up next to him, beaming. "We have made a decision that we are very excited about. We have been looking at properties in Lake Chelan, and we found the most beautiful vacation home. It is right on the water with a dock and everything. 5 bedrooms, a huge kitchen, plenty of space for the whole family." Murmurs of excitement went around the adult table. Lake Chelan was a gorgeous area about 3 hours from Seattle, known for its stunning lake and vacation properties. A house there was not cheap. "We signed the papers last week," my father continued. "The house is officially ours. And we want this to be a place where our family can gather every summer, where the grandchildren can make memories, where we can all be together." Everyone started clapping. Jennifer and Catherine were practically glowing. David looked impressed. "That is amazing, Mom and Dad," Catherine said. "The kids are going to love it." "But there is more," my mother said, and something in her tone made my stomach drop. "We have been thinking about what happens to this property in the future after your father and I are gone. We want to make sure it stays in the family, that it continues to be a gathering place for generations to come." My father nodded. "So we have decided to establish a trust. The Lake Chelan property will be held in trust for our children, who have families of their own. When we pass away, the house will go to David and Jennifer and Catherine and Brandon. It will be their legacy to pass down to their children." The room went completely silent. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. "Wait," I heard myself say, my voice small and confused. "What about me?" Every head turned toward the kids' table where I was sitting. My father looked almost surprised, as if he had genuinely forgotten I was there. "Emma," he said, and his tone was patient but firm, like he was explaining something obvious to a child who just was not getting it. "You are still single. You do not have a family of your own. This property is meant for families, for the grandchildren. It would not make sense to include you in the trust." "But I am your child," I said, and I hated how my voice was shaking. "I am part of this family." My mother stepped in her voice, taking on that soothing, condescending tone. "Of course you are, honey. But you have to understand, this is about legacy. This is about passing something down to future generations. David and Catherine have children. They have built families. This property is meant for them. So because I am not married, I do not get to be part of the family legacy." The words came out sharper than I intended, but I was past caring about keeping my voice down. Richard's face hardened. "Emma, do not make this about you. Your mother and I have worked hard for what we have. We have the right to distribute our assets as we see fit. When you get married, when you have children, we will include you then. But right now, it is not practical." "Not practical." I repeated the words, tasting bitter. "I am your daughter. I have been showing up for this family my entire life. I have helped David when he needed money. I have babysat Catherine's kids more times than I can count. I have bought expensive gifts, attended every holiday, every birthday, every event. And now you are telling me that none of that matters because I do not have a husband." "You are being dramatic," David said, his voice dismissive. "It is just a vacation house. It is not like they are cutting you out of everything." "Just a vacation house?" I looked at him in disbelief. "They are literally making a public announcement that I am not part of the family legacy. Do you not see how incredibly hurtful that is?" Catherine tried to smooth things over, as she always did. "Emma, I am sure Mom and Dad did not mean it that way. And like they said, when you settle down, things might change. When I settle down, I repeated. So my value in this family is entirely contingent on my marital status. Got it. Susan's voice turned sharp. Emma, that is enough. You are embarrassing yourself and ruining what is supposed to be a lovely evening. We invited you here to celebrate as a family, and you are making a scene. I looked around the table at all of them. My father with his arms crossed, my mother with her disapproving frown, my siblings who could not even meet my eyes, their spouses who looked uncomfortable, but were not going to contradict their in-laws, and the children at my table confused by the tension they could feel but not understand. Something inside me shifted. It was like a fog lifting a veil being pulled back. I suddenly saw the situation with painful clarity. This dinner was not about celebrating. It was about putting me in my place. The kids' table was not just about babysitting. It was a physical representation of where I ranked in this family. The announcement about the property was not just about estate planning. It was about making it crystal clear that I was lesser than unworthy of full membership in my own family, because I had failed to meet their expectations of what an adult woman should be. And the worst part was they genuinely did not think they were doing anything wrong. They truly believed this was fair and reasonable. Emma, my mother said, her voice taking on a warning tone, are you going to calm down or are we going to have a problem? I stood up slowly. The children at my table watched me with wide eyes. No problem at all, Mom, I said, my voice eerily calm. I am going to leave. Leave? My father looked genuinely shocked. We are in the middle of dinner. Then you will have to excuse me, I suddenly do not feel very well. Emma, sit down, Richard commanded. You are being childish. But I was already reaching for my purse and coat. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your vacation home. Enjoy your perfect family. Catherine started to stand. Emma, wait. Let us talk about this. Talk about what? I asked, looking at her directly. About how you all think I am less than because I am single. About how I am good enough to babysit, but not good enough to sit at the adult table. About how I am being written out of the family legacy while I am still alive to hear about it. What exactly is there to talk about, Catherine? You are overreacting, David said. This is so typical of you, always making everything about yourself. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know what is typical me, showing up for this family over and over again, hoping that one day you will see me as I actually am. But that is never going to happen, is it? Because you have already decided what I am, the spinster daughter, the one who could not get it right, the one who does not deserve a seat at the table. Emma, my mother's voice was sharp now. You need to apologize right now. You are being incredibly rude and ungrateful. Ungrateful? The word hit me wrong. For what exactly should I be grateful, Mom? For the privilege of being humiliated, for being seated with toddlers, for hearing you all discuss what is wrong with me, as if I am not even present, for being excluded from my own family's future. Susan stood up, her face flushed with anger or embarrassment. I could not tell which. How dare you speak to me that way, after everything we have done for you? Everything you have done for me, I repeated quietly. You mean like raise me, like any parent is supposed to do. That is not something I need to repay with eternal gratitude and acceptance of mistreatment. My father slammed his hand on the table. That is enough. You need to leave if you are going to act this way. I am already leaving, I said. I looked at each of them one more time. My parents rigid with disapproval. My siblings uncomfortable but not willing to defend me. Their spouses relieved it was not them in the hot seat. And then I looked at the children at my table, Tyler, Sophia, and little Madison, innocent kids who had no idea what was really happening. Goodbye, I said simply, and I walked out. Behind me, I heard my mother say loudly, well, that was completely uncalled for. She has always been so dramatic. I walked through the main dining room of La Fontana, past couples enjoying romantic dinners, past families laughing together. The hostess asked if everything was all right, and I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. I made it to my car before the shaking started. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, and took deep, shuddering breaths. But I did not cry. I was beyond crying. I was in that strange hollow space that comes after a trauma, where you are too shocked to fully process what just happened. I drove home on autopilot, my mind replaying the entire evening. Every detail, every word, every look. And with each replay, my resolve grew stronger. This was not a family that loved me. This was a family that tolerated me, and I was done accepting that. When I got home, the first thing I did was take off that ruined dress. I threw it in the trash. I was not going to try to salvage it, was not going to have it dry cleaned and hanging in my closet as a reminder of that night. It was $250 down the drain, but keeping it would have cost me more in emotional terms. I took a long hot shower, washing away the grape juice, the humiliation, the entire terrible evening. When I got out, I put on my most comfortable pajamas, made myself a cup of chamomile tea, and sat on my couch staring at my phone. I knew what was coming. I knew that by now they would have finished their dinner, gone home, and started processing what had happened. I knew the calls and texts would start soon. Part of me was tempted to just turn off my phone and avoid it all. But instead, I made a different choice. I turned off my phone completely. Not just silenced it, but powered it down. Because I knew that whatever they had to say, I did not want to hear it. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. I went to bed early, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster. But I could not sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at my ceiling, my mind churning through years of memories. All the times I had felt like the odd one out in my own family. All the comments, the slights, the ways they had made it clear I was less than. And I had accepted it. I had made excuses for them. I had blamed myself. Not anymore. I woke up Sunday morning feeling different. Not better exactly, but clearer. More resolved. I made coffee, ate breakfast, and then with a sense of purpose, I turned on my phone. The screen immediately lit up with notifications. I watched them roll in one after another. 23 missed calls, 37 text messages, 3 voicemails. I started reading the messages, and with each one, my jaw tightened. From Mom, Emma, call me back right now. From Mom, I cannot believe you embarrassed us like that in front of the restaurant staff. From Mom, your behavior was completely unacceptable. From Dad, Emma, your mother is very upset. You need to apologize. From Dad, this behavior is childish and disappointing. From Catherine, Emma, what were you thinking? You totally ruined the evening. From Catherine, thanks a lot. We had to deal with 3 kids for the rest of dinner because you left. From Catherine, you need to think about someone other than yourself for once. From David, seriously, Emma, that was so dramatic and unnecessary. From David, you are always so sensitive. Learn to take a joke. From David, Mom and Dad are really hurt. You should call them. I read through all of them. Not a single message asked if I was okay. Not a single message acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, they had done something wrong. Every single message was about how I had ruined their evening, how I was being dramatic, how I needed to apologize. It was almost funny in a dark way. They could humiliate me, exclude me, discuss what was wrong with me within earshot, and seat me at a kid's table. But I was the one who had ruined the evening by refusing to tolerate it. I sat there for a long time, thinking about how to respond. Part of me wanted to call them back to try one more time to make them understand. But I knew it would not work. They were incapable of seeing what they had done wrong, because in their worldview, they had not done anything wrong. So instead, I did something I had never done before. I opened our family group chat and started typing. My fingers moved across the screen with certainty, and I did not stop until I had said everything I needed to say. Dear family, I have read all of your messages. I will not be calling back because I have nothing more to say that I have not already shown through my actions last night. For years, I have tried to be the perfect daughter and the perfect sister. I have attended every holiday, every birthday, every family event without fail. I have given my time, my money, my energy, and my love to this family. I have helped David financially when he needed it. I have babysat Catherine's children countless times. I have bought expensive gifts and made efforts to maintain relationships. Last night, you made it crystal clear where I actually stand in this family. I am not a real adult in your eyes because I am not married. I am good enough to babysit your children, but not good enough to sit at a table with the adults. I am good enough to help when you need something, but not good enough to be included in the family legacy. You announced a major family decision and explicitly excluded me from any inheritance, not because I have done anything to deserve it, but because I do not fit your definition of what constitutes a real family member. Here is what you all need to understand. I am a successful, independent, responsible adult. I have built a career I am proud of. I bought my own home. I support myself completely. I am kind, generous, and caring. None of that matters to you because I do not have a husband or children. I am done trying to prove my worth to people who refuse to see it. Moving forward, I will no longer be available for babysitting last-minute favors or family events where I am treated as less than. You have David and Catherine for your family legacy. You have 3 grandchildren to dote on. I hope that is enough for you. I wish you all well, but I need to prioritize my own mental health and self-respect. This is not me being dramatic. This is me finally recognizing my own value and refusing to accept treatment that contradicts it. Emma. I read it over 3 times before hitting send. And then I did something even more radical. I went through my phone and blocked every member of my family. Mom, Dad, David, Catherine, all of them. Blocked on calls, blocked on texts. The only person I did not block was Jennifer, David's wife. She had always been kind to me, and she was not really part of the core family dynamic. Within minutes, I got a text from Jennifer. Emma, I am so sorry for what happened. You deserved so much better. I tried to speak up last night after you left, but David shut me down. I understand if you need space from all of us. I appreciated her message. I really did. So I responded. Thank you for your kindness, Jennifer. This is not about you. You have always been good to me. But I need to step away from this family for my own well-being. I hope you understand. Take care of yourself. Her response was immediate. I understand completely. If you ever need anything, I am here. And that was it. I had drawn my line in the sand. I had set my boundary. For the first time in my life, I had chosen myself over family obligation. The phone rang almost immediately, but it was a number I did not recognize. They were trying to get around the block by calling from different phones. I did not answer. They could call 100 times from 100 different numbers, and I still would not answer. I spent the rest of that Sunday doing something I had not done in years. Absolutely nothing. I did not clean my apartment. I did not meal prep for the week. I did not do any work. I just existed. I watched movies, I ordered takeout, I let myself be. And slowly, underneath the hurt and anger, I started to feel something else. Relief. A lightness I had not experienced in years. Like a weight I had been carrying so long I did not even notice it anymore had suddenly been lifted. I was free. The days that followed were both difficult and liberating. I woke up Monday morning and went to work throwing myself into my projects. My colleagues asked how my weekend was, and I just said it was fine. What else was I supposed to say, that I had a nuclear meltdown with my family and essentially cut them all off? Over the next 2 weeks, my family tried various tactics to reach me. They called from different numbers. I blocked each one after the first ring. They sent emails. I deleted them without reading past the subject line. My mother tried to contact me through my work email, which was somehow even more inappropriate. I marked it as spam. But the most interesting attempt came from Catherine. She showed up at my workplace during my lunch break. I was coming back from grabbing a sandwich when I saw her standing in our office lobby. My stomach dropped. For a moment, I considered turning around and avoiding her, but I decided against it. I was going to have to face them eventually. Emma, she said, her voice strained. Please, we need to talk. I am at work, Catherine. This is not appropriate. You blocked all of us. You left me no choice. I gestured toward the door. We stepped outside into the cool Seattle afternoon. I crossed my arms, waiting. Emma, this has gone on long enough, Catherine said. Her tone was that of an older sister trying to be patient with a difficult younger sibling. You made your point, you were upset, but you cannot just cut off your entire family over one dinner. One dinner, I repeated. You think this is about one dinner? We did not mean to hurt your feelings. If sitting at that table bothered you so much, you should have just said something instead of making a scene. I did say something. I asked why I could not sit with the adults. I was told to stop making a scene and do what I was told. You are twisting things around, Catherine said, frustration creeping into her voice. Mom and Dad just needed someone to watch the kids. It was not personal. Everything about that evening was personal, and if you cannot see that, then we really do not have anything to talk about. Fine. What about the house thing? Is that what this is really about? You are mad about the property. I am mad that my own parents publicly announced that I do not count as a real member of this family, that I am being excluded from family legacy because I am single. Do you really not understand how dehumanizing that is? Catherine sighed, exasperated. You are making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. When you get married, I am sure they will change the trust. It is not permanent. That is not the point. The point is that my value in this family should not be contingent on my marital status. I am a whole person right now today, exactly as I am. And you all refuse to see that. We see you, Emma, but you have to understand where Mom and Dad are coming from. They are traditional. They want grandchildren and family gatherings. That is not a crime. Treating me as lesser than is a crime against basic human decency. Catherine threw up her hands. There is no talking to you when you are like this. Mom is right. You have always been so dramatic and sensitive. And there it is, I said quietly. This is exactly why I am done. Because anytime I express hurt or set a boundary, I am being dramatic. I am being sensitive. The problem is always me, never your behavior. What do you want from us, Emma? An apology. Fine. I am sorry you felt bad. Is that what you need to hear? I do not want an insincere apology. I want actual change, actual recognition of what happened. And since that is clearly not going to occur, I want distance. You are being ridiculous. Maybe I am. But it is my choice to make. Catherine's face hardened. You know what, fine. Be alone. See how you feel in a few years when you have no one. When the holidays come around and you are by yourself. When you get older and realize you pushed away the people who actually cared about you. Do not come crawling back to us. I will not, I said. Have a nice life, Catherine. I walked back into my office building, leaving her standing on the sidewalk. My hands were shaking, but I also felt oddly empowered. I had stood my ground. I had not backed down. Security called up to my floor later to let me know Catherine had left. I thanked them and went back to work. That evening, David tried his own approach. He sent me a Venmo request for $5,000, the exact amount I had loaned him 3 years ago when he was between jobs. The request had been sitting there ever since ignored, so I did something I had never done before. I sent him a formal message through the Venmo app. Per our previous agreement, this loan is now overdue. I expect repayment within 30 days or I will pursue other options. He called immediately from his work phone. I answered. Are you serious right now? He demanded. You are actually going to demand that money back? After all this, yes, I said simply. That is so petty, Emma. That is your own brother. And yet you have made no effort to pay me back in 3 years. Interesting how family obligations only apply to me. I was going to pay you back eventually. You did not need to be such a jerk about it. 30 days, David. I will send you a formal written request as well. I suggest you take it seriously. You are unbelievable. Mom and Dad are right about you. What exactly are they right about? That you are selfish, that you only think about yourself, that you use money to control people. I laughed. I use money to control people. I lent you $5,000 interest-free and never asked for it back until now. That is the opposite of control. But go ahead, tell yourself whatever you need to. This is why you will always be alone, Emma, because you push people away. I am alone because the people in my life treat me like garbage and expect me to smile about it. But you are right about one thing. I am done with relationships that do not serve me, including this one. I hung up. And then I did send him a formal written request, an actual letter drafted with help from my lawyer friend outlining the loan and requesting repayment. 3 weeks later, $5,200 appeared in my account. $5,000 for the principal, $200 for what he calculated as minimal interest. There was no note, no message, nothing. Just the money. I deposited it and moved on. As fall turned to winter, I made some major decisions about my life. The biggest one was that I applied for jobs in Portland, Oregon. It was far enough from Seattle to feel like a fresh start, but close enough that I would not be completely uprooting my entire existence. Within 3 weeks, I had 2 interviews. Within 6 weeks, I had a job offer from a marketing agency with a 20% salary increase. I accepted immediately. I gave notice at my Seattle job, and my colleagues were sad to see me go, but supportive. I started packing up my apartment, deciding which furniture to take and what to sell or donate. I contacted a property manager about renting out my Seattle condo rather than selling it. The rental income would help with my new place in Portland. During this time, I also started therapy. I found a wonderful therapist named Dr. Patterson, who specialized in family trauma and boundary setting. Our first session, I just unloaded the entire story. She listened without interruption, and when I finished, she said something that made me cry. Emma, you did nothing wrong. Everything you described is emotional manipulation and conditional love. You made the right choice to protect yourself. Those words were like a balm on a wound I did not even realize was still bleeding. Through therapy, I learned a lot about family dynamics, about the roles we play, about how some families operate on hierarchy and control, rather than genuine love and support. I learned that it was okay to grieve the family I wished I had, while also accepting the reality of the family I actually had. I learned that choosing myself was not selfish. It was survival. I also started building what Dr. Patterson called my chosen family. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected. I joined a book club. I took a pottery class. I started saying yes to social invitations instead of saving all my time and energy for family obligations that were never appreciated anyway. And something surprising happened. I started to feel happy, genuinely deeply happy. Not the performance of happiness I had been putting on for years, but real contentment. Thanksgiving arrived, and for the first time in my life, I did not spend it with my family. Instead, I went to Friendsgiving at my friend Rachel's house. There were 8 of us, a mix of people from different backgrounds and life situations. Some married, some single, some divorced, some with kids, some without, and nobody cared about anyone's relationship status. We just enjoyed each other's company. Rachel asked everyone to share what they were grateful for. When it came to my turn, I said, I am grateful for learning to choose myself. Later, Jennifer texted me. We had maintained sporadic contact over the months, though I kept her at arm's length since she was still married to David. Just wanted you to know. Her message read, Thanksgiving was a disaster. Catherine and I did all the cooking and childcare while the men watched football. Your mom complained the entire time that you were not there to help. I now completely understand why you left. I am actually thinking about some major changes in my own life. I felt sad for her, but also vindicated. They had not learned anything. They had not changed. If I had stayed, I would still be in that same role unappreciated and taken for granted. Christmas came and went. I spent it in Portland in my new apartment with my new friend group. We had a gift exchange and watched holiday movies and drank too much wine and laughed until our stomachs hurt. It was the best Christmas I could remember. In January, 4 months after the infamous dinner, I got an email from my mother. It came to my personal email, which meant she had been saving it for something important. The subject line read, Please read this. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The email was long, several paragraphs of my mother explaining how hurt and confused she was by my behavior, how I had torn the family apart, how my father was not sleeping well because he was so worried about me, how Catherine's kids asked about me, how I was being cruel and punishing them for something that was not their fault. But nowhere in the email was an apology. Nowhere was an acknowledgement of what they had done wrong. It was all about their feelings, their hurt, their confusion. I was the villain in their story, the ungrateful daughter who had abandoned them for no good reason. I read it twice, looking for any hint of self-awareness, any recognition of their role in this situation. There was none, so I wrote back. Just one sentence. I wish you well, but I am not interested in resuming a relationship where I am not valued or respected. Please do not contact me again. And then I blocked that email address too. Dr. Patterson asked me in our next session how I felt about that exchange. Sad, I admitted, but also free. I kept hoping they would have some moment of realization, some epiphany where they suddenly understood what they did. But that is not going to happen. And I have accepted that. That is a really important acceptance, she said. You cannot control their growth or awareness. You can only control your own boundaries and choices. I know, and I am choosing me. How does that feel? I thought about it. It feels right. And it did. For the first time in my adult life, I was living authentically, prioritizing my own needs and well-being, surrounding myself with people who actually valued me. I was dating casually, not because I felt pressure to find a husband, but because I enjoyed getting to know new people. My career was thriving in Portland. I had hobbies and interests and a social life that did not revolve around family obligation. I was genuinely, truly happy. 6 months after I left that dinner, I am sitting in my Portland apartment on a Sunday morning. I have a cup of coffee in my hand, and I am looking out the window at the city I now call home. The sun is shining, there are people walking their dogs on the street below, and I feel at peace. I will not lie and say the journey has been easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, grieving the family I thought I had. There were moments of doubt, wondering if I had overreacted, if I should just apologize and go back to how things were. There were holidays that felt lonely, even surrounded by friends. But those moments passed, and what remained was a growing sense of self-worth, a stronger backbone, a clearer understanding of what I deserve. The hardest part was not the cutting off itself. It was mourning the fantasy. I had to grieve the parents I wished I had, the ones who would see me and celebrate me for who I truly am. I had to grieve the siblings I hoped would stand up for me. I had to accept that the family in my head never really existed. But here is what I gained. I gained peace. I am no longer walking on eggshells, wondering when the next subtle insult will come. I am no longer performing the role of the grateful, accommodating daughter while being treated as less than. I gained self-respect. I learned that I am allowed to have boundaries. I am allowed to say no. I am allowed to remove myself from situations and relationships that harm me, even if those relationships are with family. I gained clarity. I see now that my worth was never actually in question. They just needed someone to look down on, to make themselves feel better about their own lives and choices. I refuse to be that person anymore. I gained freedom. I date who I want to date without commentary. I spend my holidays how I want to spend them. I make decisions based on what is right for me, not what will please people who were never going to be pleased anyway. And perhaps most importantly, I learned the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is being surrounded by people who do not see you. Solitude is being alone, but at peace with yourself. I would rather have solitude than that kind of loneliness. Do I wonder what they are doing? Sometimes. Jennifer occasionally sends me updates, though I have asked her to keep them minimal. Apparently, David and Catherine still complain about me. My parents still talk about me as the one who got away, the daughter who broke their hearts. They have cast themselves as the victims in this story, and maybe they genuinely believe that narrative. But their version of events does not change the truth. And the truth is that they had chance after chance to treat me with basic respect and dignity, and they chose not to. That was their choice, just as leaving was mine. If they called me tomorrow, truly apologetic, truly ready to examine their behavior and make real changes, would I take the call? Honestly, I do not know. Maybe. But it would have to be genuine, not just another manipulation to get me back into my old role. And I am not holding my breath for that to happen. In the meantime, I am building a life I am proud of. I am building chosen family relationships with people who value me. I am pursuing my career goals without guilt. I am exploring who I am outside of the role I was assigned in my family of origin. People ask me sometimes if I regret walking out of that dinner. The answer is absolutely not. That night was the catalyst I needed. If they had not been so blatant, so cruel, I might have kept making excuses for them for years. I might have wasted my 30s the same way I wasted my 20s, trying to earn love from people who were only capable of conditional acceptance. Instead, I am free. I am 29 years old. I am single. I am successful. I am independent. I am kind. I am generous. I am enough. I am exactly who I am supposed to be. Looking back at that night when I sat at the kids' table, I realize now it was actually a gift. It showed me exactly where I stood with crystal clarity. It gave me the push I needed to walk away from a toxic situation I had been tolerating for far too long. Some people will never see your value. They will never acknowledge your worth. They will never give you the respect and love you deserve. And that is okay. It says nothing about you and everything about them. You do not need their validation to live a full, meaningful, joyous life. You do not need their approval to be complete. You do not need their acceptance to be worthy. I do not know what the future holds. Maybe one day my family will have genuine realizations and want to build real relationships. Maybe they will not. Either way, I will be fine. Better than fine, actually. I will be thriving because I finally learned the most important lesson of all. I am enough, just as I am, right now, today, single or married, with children or without, with a big family or a small chosen one. I am complete. I am whole. I am worthy of love and respect. And if you are in a similar situation, if you are dealing with family members who make you feel small, who treat your accomplishments as worthless, who value you only for how you serve their needs, I want you to know something. You are enough too. You deserve better. And it is okay to choose yourself, even if that means walking away from people who share your DNA. Family is supposed to be a source of support, love, and acceptance. But when it is not, you are allowed to create that for yourself elsewhere. You are allowed to build a chosen family of people who celebrate you, not tolerate you. You are allowed to prioritize your own mental health and well-being over family obligation. That is not selfish. That is self-preservation. That is self-love. That is knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. So here I am, 6 months later, thriving in Portland, building a beautiful life, surrounded by people who actually see me and value me, and I have never been happier. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Because I would rather be alone and at peace than surrounded by family and feeling invisible. I am Emma. I am 29 years old, and I am finally truly free. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where family treated you as less than? How did you handle it? What boundaries have you had to set with family members? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories help others feel less alone. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Sharing this video helps it reach others who might need to hear this message. And remember, choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brought you some comfort, some validation, or maybe just the reminder that you are not alone in dealing with difficult family dynamics. Take care of yourselves out there. You deserve love, respect, and peace. All of it. Always.